Kitchen Designs in Panama City Beach and Santa Rosa Beach want to help you make your dream kitchen a reality in 2024. Family owned and operated for over 20 years, they offer cabinets, countertops, flooring, and tile. Their cash and carry program offers shaker white cabinets available the very next day. Call Kitchen Designs to make your dream come true. 850-775-4150.
Reliable Copy Products is proud to be the exclusive dealer in Northwest Florida for Kyocera office equipment. Reliable Copy Products has been committed to providing professional, personalized service for the last 35 years. They understand that the right equipment does not always fall within today's budget requirements, so they offer several options for the equipment you need today for the growth you expect tomorrow. Call James Smothers at 784-6601. 784-6601. Reliable Copy Products on Harrison Avenue, just north of Bay High School.
My name is Linda Cope, founder and president of Warrior Beach Retreat. Line the streets February 22nd to honor the men and women who have served and sacrificed for the freedoms we enjoy. Attend the ceremony, which is free and open to the public, February 22nd at 7 p.m. at First Baptist Church of Panama City. Colonel Alan West will be the speaker. Information for the parade route and ceremony are on our website, warriorbeachretreat.org. Never forget, freedom isn't free. We saw this firsthand after our son, Army retired Sergeant Joshua Cope, lost both legs above the knee and wounded his hands by an IED blast in Baghdad, Iraq. When a soldier goes to war, a family goes to war. We are a local 501c3 charity not affiliated with Wounded Warrior Project. Donations are needed and much appreciated for us to continue the vision to bring hope and healing for the combat wounded warriors and their loved ones. God bless you all, and God bless America.
WPLQ Port St. Joe, WGSX Lynn, powered by Panama City Toyota.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Let's play the game.
Sports Talk Radio will never be the same.
I just don't think that anybody's going to succeed in that system.
It's a bad organization.
We're just a bad organization.
The Afternoon Underdogs.
Onion pickles, onions pickles.
Live and local.
Look, it's impressive.
On ESPN.
Northwest Florida.
What is going on, Northwest Florida? You guys are now riding with the Afternoon Underdogs, tuned in to ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick, and you guys can call or text this at 850-215-6290. We'll have Caveman Rick on the Facebook comments and on the text and on the calls as well today. I don't have my laptop with me, so we're just going to be shooting from the hip. Obviously, we've got a little bit of a show prep to go off of, but if I'm spouting off wrong things, I'm not going to be able to correct myself at all today. So it could get a little bit interesting, but 420, we will dive into a little miscellaneous category. Got a few things from all sports there. We'll have some headlines and some on this day at 440 with an interesting trivia question for you guys at 440. We can go ahead and ask the question, but we won't take answers until that 440 segment. Who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA? More on that at 440. Kicking off hour number 2 is going to be Sam Peebles. We're going to be talking Braves as the Braves pitchers and catchers have reported today. Caveman, on a scale of 1 to 10, your excitement level for Major League Baseball spring training.
With all the stuff that happened during hot stove types, off-season stuff, it's up there. I would say maybe like an 8.2.
Oh, I like that. You got a little Richter scale thing going over there.
I don't want to give you like an exact number. We can do like figure skate and gymnastics.
Yeah.
How they do that, holding up a sign. But yeah, want to see what's going to happen with Ohtani, with the Dodgers, Yamamoto, obviously, a couple of the big names. Want to see if the big name, teams that are usually in the mix can kind of hold their own and still be there, because we got teams, we've seen from like last season that could be coming up, like the, Orioles.
Yeah.
We can see the Diamondbacks do some stuff again, So, just kind of interested in waiting to see what happens.
Yeah, for me, that Baltimore Orioles is going to be one of the most intriguing storylines for me to follow. One of the main reasons is the success that they've had over the last 2 years, new ownership, the addition of Corbin Burns, But then also the overwhelming factor is this is different if they're in the American League Central. This is different if they're in the National League Central. But because they're in the American League East, those teams are, and it doesn't matter which East you're in, be it the National League or be it the American League. The American League, I would say, is a little bit tougher. And Boston looks, they got Epstein back over there. So that's what's going to make it interesting. You can have that great team, but when you're playing in a division, Juan Soto now with the Yankees, the Blue Jays, there's no exclamation point as we were talking about yesterday for certain college schools. There's there's a lot of questions there. But yeah, the Orioles is probably the most intriguing storyline for me outside of the Atlanta Braves. When it comes to the Atlanta Braves, is really going to be the pitching staff and the health. That's one of the main things for me is Max Fried, Charlie Morton, neither one of those guys looking to come back, or it doesn't seem like they'll be coming back next year. I think both of those guys are on at the end of their contract. So how does the pitching staff stay, or the starting rotation, how does their health go along the season, go throughout the season? And then will Chris Sale, will he bounce back? Because if he bounces back and Max Fried is able to stay healthy, that rotation for the Atlanta Braves could be absolutely vicious. But you know how it goes in the world of baseball, and they were not the staff, not the rotation, but the offense was vicious last year, and like you said, it just kind of bled off there in the playoffs.
And you got to kind of wonder too, I mean, it's been like 3-4 good years now for the Braves. Can they keep it going again another season? It's kind of hard sometimes to kind of keep it rolling year after year. We've seen teams like the Astros do it, but again, what helped get that start, something that we're not proud of. But so they've been doing well. Just keep it rolling, see what happens. There's been they're in a tough division again. A lot of money's being spent in that NL East always.
Final year also for the Oakland Athletics to be playing in the Coliseum. For some reason, man, I'm thinking that halfway through the season or so, something happens and they revert course from going to Las Vegas and find a way to stay in Oakland. I could be way off base on that, but they don't have a ballpark until 2028, and that'll be in Vegas. So you would.
I heard Oakland doesn't want them back.
Oakland doesn't want him back?
I heard like a bunch of the fans are kind of like, they were already kind of, over it, I guess, maybe, or something. Now, I don't know how serious that is, but I have heard some outlets say that.
One of the things that I'm hearing between the discussions is that obviously we heard from Mayor Carolyn Goodman saying that, the owner of the A's should do everything possible to try and stay in Oakland to get that waterfront ballpark. But one of the things they're saying is they'll try to figure out a way, the city of Oakland, to house them for 4 more years if they, and I think that this is the hinge, is that Oakland would have to be in line for the next MLB franchise. So expansion.
Why would you move a team just to get the next expansion team to go back to that same city? To me, it makes no sense.
No, I totally agree with you. I would rather see, and in all reality, what city should deserve an expansion, right? If you can find a way to keep Oakland there, then that's cool. But Las Vegas would, an expansion makes a lot more sense in Las Vegas rather than sending the A's to Las Vegas and then, hey, let's try round 2 here. It's like the Thrashers and the
Flames.
The Flames, yeah.
Team. Yeah, I mean, it's not economically viable to do it, obviously, in Oakland. So, I mean, yeah, it is in Las Vegas. So, I mean, that is the best place right now. I mean, can you think of any other big city right now that's more, deserving? I guess maybe Nashville maybe is a town.
I think you got Nashville. They talked about Charlotte as being one. I mean, Montreal was
a lot of minor league around the Charlotte area.
They do,
like
yeah,
Durham and stuff. So,
but you got a lot of minor league down there in the Tampa area, Clearwater area,
well, you got, preseason. You got
spring training. Yeah,
spring training. So I mean, it's big down there for like a few months of the year.
Absolutely. So I mean, Nashville would be one that would be very interesting to me because that's such a huge part of Braves country as it is. And so,
Oklahoma City.
I mean, that could be an interesting one. I think
one team,
if the A's don't end up going to Las Vegas, which I'm really hoping that they don't, but it does seem all signs do look to be going that way. That's just kind of a hot take that I'm throwing out there, that maybe by the end of this season. And here's another thing. If you're the Oakland fans, if you're the Oakland Athletic fans, and nothing is necessarily set in stone, because nothing is set in stone at this point in time.
We thought it was.
Right. With that being said, if you're the Oakland A's and you are the A's fans and you really want them to stay there, then why not take every opportunity that you can this year and pack that place out?
I mean, it's possible. I guess they can try to do that. But, I mean, they could have been doing that from before.
Well, right. And, well, how else are you supposed to prove? How are you supposed to prove that you deserve a franchise there if, I mean, for years now we've seen them not supporting. Now, also, there's the other side of it.
They have a building they want to go to, though, too. That doesn't have raccoons crawling all around it with rabies and whatnot. I mean, it was like a safety hazard, too. Why would you want to bring your family to someplace like that?
And again, you can't fault fans when the management, when ownership is not trying to put a team out there that makes it easy to cheer for.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I mean, like, yeah, if you want to play the small ball game, I'm sure there is some, like, really analytical type fans that might dig that kind of game. It's not, the cup of tea, though, for your average MLB fan.
I mean, look at the Rays. Now, that could be stadium as well, but they play that kind of same brand. We don't really need superstars over here. We're going to be in the mix for the majority of the season, and they don't pack out the Trop, and the Trop's one of the, if I'm not mistaken, one of the smaller ballparks in Major League Baseball as well. So that's another bad sign.
Is that like legitimate though? Because they do cover up a lot of seats too.
I'm going off. Off of thought.
I just remember seeing like they're always tarped up and covered up a lot of times.
Yeah, maybe they could have more seats. You look at, I was going to say Turner there. You look at Truist over there, and 40-something thousand, I think, is seats. I want to say, because originally the Tampa Bay Lightning played there at the Tropicana. I think at that point in time it was called the Thunderdome.
45,000 is a good average, I think, for most ballparks out there, somewhere around there.
I believe they did. I believe when the Lightning first started.
I think it was like an outside place or something like that they kind of like had a half-ass makeshift into like an indoor kind of a place for like maybe even the first season, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong because, I mean, shoot, I was freshman in high school.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Well, we'll see what happens in this baseball season. Talk about some win totals that are one that stands out to me. The Rays win total is sitting at 83.5. And I think that's the AL East part of it is what scares me. The Orioles getting a little bit better. Juan Soto going over to the Yankees. That's got to be good for something, right? And we never know. But you talk about Juan Soto and Aaron Judge as your corner outfielders, unless Aaron Judge is playing a lot more center this year. There's going to be a lot of power in that outfield. But yeah, that is 83.5 seems kind of low. No, it doesn't mean anything.
We've seen the Yankees spend money, get big names, and not do nothing. So, again, it's chemistry, see how things go. Obviously, the Red Sox will probably be maybe a couple more seasons, but with the addition of getting Epstein back, like, see where they're going to be in a couple of years.
Yeah.
Once they get to build the farm team up and make some moves.
So, you were talking about the Lightning, right?
Yeah.
My dad just texted in. They started at the Tampa Fairgrounds and then moved.
That's what it was. That's what I was thinking outside.
I did not even know that neat piece of trivia. So they were playing out. They're the originators of the Stadium Series.
And like, how do you get a team and you start and you don't even have a building yet? I mean, the NHL was expanding then, and they had a decent, fair amount of teams. I think it was like maybe 6 back then, 7 teams, but. Yeah, it just kind of blows my mind that you don't have a place already set up in mind, already ready to go.
That is a wild. So they were playing outdoors?
Well, I don't think it was outdoors. I think it was like how a fairground works, and like a lot of the buildings are kind of like it's not a stadium, you know what I mean? And I think they kind of like half-assed, like I said, kind of converted it into like a stadium, and that's what they were using the first.
Because they had to. I mean, the majority of the hockey season and 100% of the hockey season in Tampa is above freezing, so that's what had me incredulous over here. Like, wait, how did they play at the fairgrounds? But yeah, that's I don't even know if I'm sure I have been to the Tampa Fairgrounds, but it's been a long time. Like I said, I've been saying when people ask me how long you been in Panama City, that's a popular question around here, and I've been saying, normally I'll say 8 years, and then I'll think about it. I'm like, I've been saying 8 years for 8 years now, which means I've been here for about 16 years. Moved here the day of, or for the final time, moved here the day of my 17th birthday. But we've got some good high school basketball.
November 4 of 96, my first day in
November 4, 1996. I was 5 years old. Let's see, at 5 years old, I was actually probably living here at that point in time, because we would always come back. I don't think that we lived anywhere longer than a year until we moved to St. Pete, and I was 8 or 10 years old. I'm sure that my dad will just start blowing me up now with all of the facts.
I don't remember this, son.
Yeah, lots of stuff has transpired since then, and trying to do it all on the spot is also where you gotta be like, well, there was this, there was that. But yeah, girls high school basketball tonight, Class 1A Region 1, number 1 Ponce de Leon is going to be hosting the 4-seed Holmes County. In Class 1A Region 1, number 3 seed Paxton is traveling to the 2-seed Jay. In 1A Region 2, the 1-seed Graceville, they are hosting the 4-seed Crossroads Academy, and the 2-seed Bluntstown is going to be hosting the number 3 seed Liberty County. And 4A Region 1 is going to be the number 2 seed Rutherford versus the number 7 seed Rains. And then 4A Region 1 as well, number 8 seed South Walton, they'll be taking on the number 1 seed Bishop Kenny. All of those games will be taking place tonight on Valentine's Day. Yeah, we're gonna have Wright State Chris in the building with us on Friday, and my dad. So it's going to be me, you, my dad, and Wright State Chris this Friday. We're going to have a jam-packed show.
Sounds like fun.
Yes, sir. And boys high school soccer last night in the 5A region quarterfinals. Arnold is a big winner there, 4-0 over Lecanto, and Inglewood took down Choctaw 4-3. And by way of that, Arnold is going to be hosting their next game this Friday, hosting Inglewood. That should be a good one. In the 6A region quarterfinal, another shutout here is Niceville takes down Forest 3-0. And in girls high school soccer in the 6A region quarterfinal, it's Niceville taking down Springstead 3-0. And also, I'm not sure what all teams are in this. I'm only taking this from Coach Mark Deaton's Facebook page. I saw it right before I printed off the show sheet today. The Wrestling District Championship South is at South Walton, 8:30 a.m. weigh-in. Wrestling starts at 10. Top 4 in each weight class move on to the next week. The bottom half the season is over. We're streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on X. Like and share the Facebook feed and page, and follow us over there on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, download the app, and register, all at 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. For the social media, it is just ESPN Northwest Florida. If you're trying to get the app and take us with you wherever it is that you go, you got to go to your Google Play Store or your Apple Store and type in 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida. If I had my laptop, we would have been diving in a little bit more into your guy, Jason Kelsey, Travis Kelsey. They were on they were on their New Heights podcast. Jason Kelsey kind of, said, hey, let's just call it what it is. You were in the wrong in that, and Travis knew it immediately, didn't disagree at all. But here's my thing is, all right, yeah, that's beautiful. That's beautiful that he was able to, him and his brother conversate about that. What I find even more beautiful about the whole entire picture is it never set Coach Reed off. Coach Reed went over there and said, hey, man, come on, be bigger than that, essentially. We've got a game to win. Let's keep our focus. So the fact that the fact that those two guys know each other and have such a good relationship, that's what the more important thing is. Okay, a little disrespect. Should we emulate that? No, and we should not. We don't want to have young kids bumping into their coaches and talking in their face and stuff like that. But these guys work so well together. And Coach Reed was able to just take that and move on, and I really like that. And I like Jason kind of, calling him out, bringing some content there for the podcast. And I like Travis's answers a lot, saying, you know what, man, I got caught up in the heat of the moment. I'm not going to make any excuse for that, but hey, and sorry for getting in Coach's face. But I think I don't want to say that it's been blown out of proportion. It's just one of those things that, for me, a situation like that, I try to understand what's going on with that situation more so than condemning a guy for acting out of turn. When I know in my life, if I've treated everyone right every single time, then I'm telling you a lie.
I would say that, I mean, I'm not giving Kelsey a pass for doing it. Andy Reid, if I'm not mistaken, did draft him there, and he's been there the 12 years, his whole career. So, and probably the longest tenured Kansas City Chief. And if not, I mean, he's pretty close, I'd imagine. So if there's anybody that probably knows him, I would say it's him. Andy Reid apparently didn't have a problem with it unless he was just doing the right thing, and then, got him by himself and was like, look, this is not a good look, and people are asking me questions, we can't have this. But overall, I think it was handled pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the last piece, and we might have a little bit more time, but sad stuff coming out of the Super Bowl parade. 8 to 10 people injured. I believe I saw on another article 1 dead here at the end of the Super Bowl celebration. That's this one is from the Score. I read on I believe it was Fox News. I've seen multiple headlines about this. Just sad stuff, man. Especially when I don't know the situation, right? I don't know what it is that was caused, and I don't know if we'll ever know any of that. Was it just an argument that happened? I mean, we're talking about 8 to 10 people being injured in this situation. Just, man, me and Bone Crusher were talking about this because I don't know if there's not a way to stop it. There's not a way to stop these things, okay? At least if you have an opinion on how to stop it, we'd love to hear, right? Because if not, take that all the way up to the top. But I said to Bone Crusher, I was like, man, I can't believe this would happen at a Super Bowl celebration. And immediately my mind just went to, yeah, okay, that's crazy, but this happens in schools.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of the times it's one of the young kids who's doing it. So, and I'm not trying to excuse that. What I'm trying to say is I felt bad for that, and I still feel bad for that. But to think about the fact that this happens in our schools is man, dude,
It's just sad that we can't have big gatherings of people without having issues. It was just, was it the Inside Drive? I think maybe yesterday you guys were talking about
the Phoenix Open.
The Phoenix Open.
Yeah.
And, they said there was 500,000 people there, 500,000, and they had to stop, selling food and drink because they were overwhelmed. And then hopefully getting people to leave because they couldn't even get water and whatnot. You know? So, I mean, it's sad, but it just lends credence more to that you can't get these large gatherings of people because in this day and age, man, people just don't see eye to eye enough and can't be respectful to one another enough to even have some differences. And not to bring her into it, but they did say there was a lot more people there too because of the Taylor Swift thing too.
And I don't even think she was there. I don't know if she was or not. I haven't seen one clip. I saw one headline from the Super Bowl parade, but I haven't even seen one clip to this point. So with that being said, I mean, and she does not deserve any single.
No, that's what I'm saying though. So without knowing, but I was already hearing first thing this morning, hours before the parade started, that people were already stacked and piling up.
Yeah, and that makes sense, and that's something that the NFL, has relished in this year, and the numbers that Taylor Swift has brought along with her. And I would. I hate this for the Chiefs. I dislike it for the NFL. But, guys, I guess the only thing that I can say is we got to do better, and we can do better. That's what the biggest issue, I think, to me is we really can do better. But thoughts and prayers there for the people who were affected, all of the family members. And, and here's the other thing. I'm sure that there's plenty of people who were not of the 8 to 10 injured, who were not the singular person who passed away, that saw those images and now will have to live with those for the rest of their life. And that is tough stuff. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. We're going to take a quick time out. When we return, we're going to get into some miscellaneous topics. If you have any topics you want us to talk about, comment on Facebook or text them to 850-215-6290.
She's all you ever think about. So this Valentine's, ESPN Northwest Florida is giving you more of what your heart desires.
Mwah.
college basketball.
At the buzzer!
It's the South Carolina Gamecocks versus the Auburn Tigers. Inside the Jungle. Tip-off at 6 on your home for college basketball and the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a light breeze out of the northeast, sunshine, and 65. Clear skies tonight, colder at 47. Tomorrow, partly sunny and a very light wind with a high of 64. The same at 64 Friday, and we'll have mostly clouds most of the day aside from a very slight chance of rain showers in the evening. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey folks, Chris Kramer with Bill Kramer GM. And the best place to listen to the Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey is inside a brand new vehicle from Bill Kramer GM. And I want you to know we've got 10 times the amount of inventory on the ground as we did this time last year, and darn near all of them are discounted. So shop us online at BillKramerGM.com or visit us the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd. We'll make it easy and take great care of you.
Hi folks, I'm Tracy from Tracy's Fine Jewelry. Love is in the air at Tracy's Fine Jewelry, and what better way to celebrate love than with a beautiful piece of jewelry? Our Valentine collection combines the most popular trends and top sellers with the largest selection at the best prices. From exquisite fine jewelry to our most trendy and affordable sterling silver pieces, we're sure to have the perfect gift to melt her heart. Folks have trusted us for 50 years to make their Valentine sparkle. This year, make it sparkle even more with a gift from Tracy's Fine Jewelry.
Often imitated, never duplicated. The official sports station of the Panhandle. Now back to the Afternoon Underdogs. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back in the doghouse. This is ESPN Northwest Florida, 104.3 here in Panama City, 101.9 in Port St. Joe. I saw the comment from Wright State Chris saying that he heard on Gottlieb that there was that the guys who tackled the shooter was actually some bystanders.
Did you see what I commented, though, however, after that?
I did not see that.
If it was Gottlieb saying it, you might have to question it.
And
he's been in trouble a couple times for making false statements.
Yeah,
that's why I question it a little bit.
That's the issue. It's with trying to be first.
It's more important to be accurate and correct than be first.
Yeah. I mean that's the way that it's treated. Or wait, did you say correct or first?
No, like it's more important to be accurate and correct than to be first.
Right,
but
right,
people
right.
are more worried about being the first when saying something and not worried about if it's 100% true or not.
And here's the thing, too, like we're all going to misspeak sometimes. It's just important to not stand on things like it's a rock if you don't necessarily know about it.
Have more than one source.
Right. Have more than one source. And I guess I'm just saying that because I say I don't know a lot on here, because if I don't know, I'm not going to try to act like I know it. And I'll tell you who my sources are, whatever I can scrounge up.
You do a good job keeping everybody informed and making sure that they understand that you're not giving them what you think is 100% accurate all the time.
Well, a 2-minute warning in college football is possibly on the table with some of the rule change or with some of the clock changes.
Clock? Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
I understand that.
TV timeout, baby.
It is another daggum TV timeout, and I'm telling you what, dude. I love football in general, and I really love college football. It is a lot harder to watch college football than it is the NFL these days. There's too many commercials in both of them, but at least I know outside of the Super Bowl, halftime's going to last 12 minutes. Now, I'm not trying to say let's shrink halftime for college football. No, let's not. In fact, if you want to add some more time to it, I'm fine with that. Why? Because there's band members and the flag throwers and all of that stuff that put in a lot of time, and so I don't want to see that taken away from them. However, we've got to figure out a way way with our advertising and stuff, and it's not going to change because we saw the deal that happened yesterday, $7.8 billion for the college football playoff. That's not even talking about the regular season.
I got a suggestion. I know it'll never happen, but like say if this was when I was younger, you used to see these ads in magazines. You didn't see them on TV, and it's become very in vogue in like the last 20 years to have these ads on TV. But if the FDA say were to ban like pharmaceutical companies from doing commercials on TV, that would get rid of like half of them right there.
Yeah. Oh man, I didn't even think about that. The extra commercial that's going to come there with a 2-minute, and they're not going to call it 2-minute warning. And these are things being talked about, but it wouldn't surprise me if they added into it. But here's the other thing. Great point on the money. Why are we setting up the clock rules to emulate exactly the NFL? Hasn't that been one of the beautiful things about college football, is that there's little things that separate it?
But now that they're like getting paid and now it's basically going to be the farm system, don't you feel like it's got to be maybe a little bit closer to the NFL, and that's better for the product, in the end overall? Them
getting paid is not necessarily, even though it is, and it's been the farm system of the NFL.
I mean, G League, like the AHL and stuff like that, hockey, WHL,
Well, let's go to minor league baseball. Let's go to minor league.
They all follow like the same rules. Now they'll try to implement and try new things in the minor leagues before they move it up to the pro leagues. But for the most part, I mean, they're following the same rules.
Yeah,
playing the same game.
For the most part, they are. Yeah, I'm with you there. For me personally, I like the difference in clock rules, and maybe it's harder for some to follow, because I know that we all are going to get confused. Like, oh, it should be like that, and it's like, okay, well, it's a little bit different there. I wouldn't be a huge fan of this. I didn't have a large issue with them removing the clock stopping after a first down, unless it's in the final 2 minutes of the half. I think that helped move games along. But here's my thing. It didn't, though. It did make them move a little bit faster, but they just added in more commercials. And that's just, it doesn't take me that long to walk to my TV, man. And that's what I'm doing through your commercials anyways. Do they work? Yes. But also, if I'm seeing the same commercial 6 times through a game, and that's going to even become more prevalent. Why? Because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but I do. When you're streaming a game, you're going to see a lot of the same commercials. When you're watching a game on cable or whatever it may be, you don't see, or antenna or cable, you don't see as many of the same commercials as you do on streaming. And it's like, you can show me that thing 100 times. That doesn't mean that I'm going to go buy it. Yeah. In fact, the more that, and maybe I'm the outlier here, but the more that you shove a commercial in my face, the less likely I am to go buy that.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I feel the same way you do, especially about the repetitive nature of seeing the same thing over and over again. But how many times have we seen, like, you just seen it over and over again? It just gets embedded in your brain, like, just through osmosis. There's plenty of times I don't want to hear these little jingles or these little, like, sayings in these commercials, and I find myself, singing them in my head or thinking about them just because, it's just there all the time. And unfortunately, you're like me. We like to watch these games, and like if you're going to watch them and partake in them, you're going to have to be subjected to this kind of stuff, unfortunately, unless you have a particular kind of service that doesn't show the commercials. There is a few out there that every once in a while, like I know, like in the NHL package, where it's like commercial break and it's just a blank screen with the NHL logo or something like that on there, and that would be it. That's basically the only way you're going to get away from it, I guess.
The best to me, I'll be honest, and you guys have heard me complain about the NBA before, and not necessarily complaining because I'm getting back into it, but I've taken that side before of the lack of defense, all of that good stuff. But NBA League Pass does an incredible job. There's not as many commercials, and what they do is during a timeout or during a break or whatever, when you're watching on League Pass, not the same for TNT or any of these national networks, but when you're watching on League Pass, it's almost like you're in the arena. They show the Jumbotron. They show all of the little kiss cams and stuff like that. They show the halftime performance. And to me, that is the way to go. You really want to get people involved like with that new streaming package that you're going to have ESPN and Fox Sports, and there's another one going along with that, but CBS and NBC I don't think are going to be included with that one, or at least they're not at this point in time. But make it like that. Make it like it's a stadium experience. Like you're not going to be able to make it like you're exactly at the game, but try to make it as close as you possibly can.
I got a suggestion. I mean, we have all these sports betting apps, right? Maybe somebody's going to come out one where you're watching the game. It's got the live betting stuff on the actual screen, like in the margin, say to the right-hand side, in the bottom or wherever. And with your remote and everything there, too, while you're actually watching the game, you actually move a mouse around and you're actually doing the live betting and stuff, like while you're actually watching the game, like right there on the same screen.
I think that would be really cool. I think there's a lot of people who would really enjoy that. And you said like with virtual reality?
No, I mean just even regular. Like if they can incorporate, like they have like those the remotes now. You talk like, with the Alexa and it picks it up. So why can't they have something that's almost the same thing where you're moving it like a mouse, like on a Wii controller, and there's a little cursor moving around on the screen. You got the game going on, but you can also interact and do like live betting, like right there on the same screen, and it's all right there on the same thing. Because a lot of times people got the game on a TV, they got a tablet or their phone, they're doing their betting or whatever else, and they're kind of like going back and forth.
Yeah, and you're like missing some of the game.
All right there, all in the same, in the same frame.
Yeah, that could be something pretty cool.
Anybody want to do this and steal my idea? I came up with it right now. Give me paid.
That is not how that works, but hopefully in good faith they will come back to you. I was watching, I think over at Dalton's one time, Dalton Cope, I was watching. He had it on YouTube TV, and one of the cool things about that, and I think you can do it on ESPN as well if you're watching from the Xbox or whatever. You can watch the game, and then you can also have like a little picture-in-picture of the stats and everything that's going along with it, kind of like Amazon does with Thursday Night Football. So yeah, like I wouldn't want it to be where if I didn't want to see that betting stuff, if I didn't want to see it, I don't want to have to see it. You know what I'm saying? So like having different channels, and I think that is the direction that we're headed with watching sports in general. I mean, the Manning Cast, there's one for hockey. I think Spit and Chicklets, or one of the guys does something that's kind of like Manning Cast, and I think that is really interesting because I don't watch the Manning Cast every single time. It really just depends, because there's sometimes I watch and I'm like, I'm going to go back to the original broadcast because I care about. Yeah, it really does. It does depend on the guest, but it's also like, all right, so you can get some really cool intel from Peyton and Eli, but you can also not even be focused on the game at all when you're watching Peyton and Eli, which is, there's pros and cons to everything. So I like the ability to watch different streamcasts, but
the Nickelodeon one even that they do sometimes.
I think that's cool for the kids.
Yeah.
I mean, and for anyone who wants to watch it, not just for the kids. If you want to watch the Nickelodeon broadcast, that's great. But with as much money as they make, I mean, really, now the more talent that you incorporate, the more human beings that you have incorporated, the tougher it is. But outside of just shooting out a different, with the way technology is, I think you can have a few different choices. It's going to be really interesting to see how that new streaming service works that's got all the sports bundled up. It's just, for me, one of the things I automatically think about is you're adding something else, and you're trying to set up like you're going to have all sports, but now for my CBS and my NBCs, which means, at least 2 games a week for the NFL, which means every Sunday night football game, I'm having to go to a different place. So if you really want to get a sports fan hooked, you've got to do your best. And really what I would love to see someone do, and I'm sure that there are some methods out there, is try to get as much as you can of the major sports and college sports all in the same device. Like, what is it? I don't even know if they're a sponsor right now, so I'm not going to shout them out right now. But we did have that TV service not too long ago. That was exactly what I'm talking about, man. Like, for those of you who signed up, and if you still have it, you got to tell people about that.
I got
what was it?
Similar too.
Yeah. Yeah, and we can't be shouting them out or whatever, but it's like, what, $20-$25 a month?
Yeah.
There's other people, like, you paying for YouTube TV and you still got to have other things. Like, with the previous streaming service that we had here, that was one that was really good, and it was worth it. It was worth it, especially for sports fans, because now for your movie watchers and stuff like that, yes, it had stuff for you, but it wasn't the same as being able to pick exactly what you want to watch when you want to watch it in that sense. But as far as for sports goes, it was great. And then also, I mean, one thing I found cool about it was the local news channels and being able to kind of just go check out news from different areas around our country, and sadly seeing how similar it all is.
Yeah, no doubt. Like, those things work. They're great services if you can get your hands on them. Just, be careful too. A lot of times some of those are some shady companies. You just got to do your homework, I guess.
Yeah. Kyle Shanahan asked he kind of came back and doubled down, not doubled down, but he asked members of his staff to go through overtime rules with his players before this past season playoffs. Now, he did double down on taking the ball first, and I don't blame him on that, right? Because you have the opportunity to go down and score the touchdown. If you do score the touchdown, then the Chiefs have the chance to tie it up, and then you get the ball back and you go down and score, and it's over. That's all she wrote. So to get the ball third, to have that third possession, kind of makes a lot of sense to me. So I don't disagree with him on taking the ball first. I am curious though about, like, Juszczyk saying it doesn't matter to me if I knew the overtime rules or not. I don't know if it does change anything. However, the one thing that stands out to me, even as I watched the play again last night, that final play in overtime, it just did not look like the 49ers defense were expecting the Chiefs to actually run a play there, and when they did, it caught them off guard.
Yeah, well, for me, one of the biggest things of that game and the whole situation was just like the way, I just had a brain fart. I just lost where I was going to go. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Well, you'll think about it here shortly. But, yeah, so don't disagree at all with him going for receipt. Go ahead.
I know what I was going to say. My bad. Okay. For me, I mean, yeah, taking it first is, a lot of ways a good way of looking at it. Second as well. It just depends on the way the game's going. Like, if your offense is on fire and they're rolling, maybe you want the ball first. That way you can just get it, not cool off, march down the field, hopefully get the touchdown, and now put the pressure on the other team. Now though, say if like your offense was out on the field like a lot on a long, like a 13-play drive for like the last 5 minutes of the game or whatever, and now they're gassed, okay? And maybe you got a pretty decent defense. Maybe, say, hey, we'll put the defense out there first, give our offense a little time to rest. So when we get the ball back, we can go back out there with more fresh legs and have a better opportunity maybe of going down the field and scoring.
But so the offense was already fully rested in that spot because all they did was come out and take a knee.
Not in that game specifically.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm saying I would take a look at how my team is playing and what's going on in the game and base my decision probably game to game, situation to situation, and not just have one philosophy that I'm just, no matter what game it is, no matter what's going on in the game, I'm just going to always take it first or second or whatever. Right,
and he hasn't been in that situation yet, especially in the Super Bowl, even though he's been in an overtime Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator over there for the Atlanta Falcons. But yeah, that is for me, all the things that you just said in that game. The Chiefs had only scored one touchdown in that game. So even if and it's Patrick Mahomes, so that's the difference. Like, that's the big difference. But for me, you had already stopped Mahomes and as far as getting into the end zone a lot that evening. And it felt like even after you kick the field goal, well, we've been holding them to field goals. We hold them one more time, and then all we got to do is just, however, score. It doesn't matter if it's a field goal, if it's a touchdown, no matter what, we're going to be walking away as Super Bowl champions. So there's a lot that you can sit there and dissect and all of that stuff, and I think that it really just comes down to I won't even say that the Chiefs wanted it more. I won't say that because I think that the Chiefs and the 49ers wanted it just as much, and maybe you can even make the argument that the 49ers wanted it more.
Oh, I'm sure they're more hungry. I mean, the Chiefs have been getting fed lately.
And the Patrick Mahomes, they just know how to eat, man. And if you're another team and you're playing the Chiefs, futuristically speaking, and you're playing the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and you get late in the game, You see a man in motion, just go to the opposite side of the way he's going in motion at that point in time, because they've done this multiple times, man. Have a spy on the guy in motion. I don't know what to tell you, but that play worked out well for them. 2 Super Bowls in a row. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. Give me a call, 850-215-6290. Play a little trivia. Tell me, who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA?
All you ever think about. So this Valentine's, ESPN Northwest Florida is giving you more of what your heart desires. College basketball.
At the buzzer!
It's the South Carolina Gamecocks versus the Auburn Tigers. Inside the Jungle. Tip-off at 6 on your home for college basketball and the Auburn Tigers. ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a light breeze out of the northeast, sunshine, and 65. Clear skies tonight, colder at 47. Tomorrow, partly sunny and a very light wind with a high of 64. The same at 64 Friday, and we'll have mostly clouds most of the day aside from a very slight chance of rain showers in the evening. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumberyard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Visit the newly remodeled Mid-South Lumber Hardware and Feed Store in Youngstown. They have a full line of plumbing, electrical, hardware, and tools for your DIY home projects, as well as lumber and animal feed. Now offering not only baby chicks and a full line of poultry supplies, but also bunnies and parakeets. They also carry a wide selection of Duplin wines and gourmet products, so you don't have to drive to the beach. Come see us at Mid-South Lumber on Highway 231 in Youngstown.
That boot store reminds you that it doesn't hurt to give something stylish and practical on Valentine's Day. Just think, fellas, what she's gonna look like in that special Western outfit. Wow. Ladies, he'll look sharp in those jeans and new hat, too. Okay, fellas, to be on the safe side and not be sleeping on the couch, that boot store suggests that you complement that Western outfit with some lovely flowers, candy, or romantic card. Maybe all 3. Just a suggestion from that boot store. Open Tuesday through Thursday, 9 till 5. Friday and Saturday, 9 till 5:30. Next to Billboard Kia, 15th Street, Panama City.
He stuck his head in the microwave and chanted Hot Pocket. Hot Pocket! Caveman Rick is part of the Afternoon Underdogs.
Hope you're drunk or heading home to a trailer.
On ESPN Northwest Florida.
And we are back. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. This is ESPN Northwest Florida. I'm David Hayes, and we got Caveman Rick back there on the 1s and the 2s with us, and we're going to play a little trivia here in a second. I'm sure that the fella on the phone is smart. Kirby, you are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. What's going on, brother?
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
All right. Did you get an answer?
I have not yet. Who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA?
I want to say Daryl Dawkins.
Oh, that's... Go ahead.
No, I'm going to stick with Daryl, but it might be Sidney Moncrief.
Ooh, that's another good one as well. I don't know if Sidney ever brought one down, but Daryl Dawkins did have 2. Shaq had 2, but he was actually not the first to do that. Kirby, thank you so much for the call, man.
All right. Love your show.
Hey,
you guys are awesome.
Hey, thank you so much, Kirby. That really does mean a lot. 850-215-6290. Man, we should have held him on a little bit longer and talked some more sports with him, Caveman Rick. But who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA? And I'm really excited about giving this answer off. Caveman Rick's going to have to, because I've got the answer back there with him. I know who it is, but it's a wild story, and I'm excited about this. Who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA? We're going to be hooking you up with $25 to not the, but that boot store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Caveman, you know what would get people excited about trivia maybe, and maybe even more so excited about the NBA as we air select Magic games here on ESPN Northwest Florida? I wonder if maybe we could talk the old boss man into getting a couple of tickets for the Orlando Magic.
I think that'd be a pretty sweet idea, man. Like, hopefully get some games where maybe a good rivalry or a good game will be set up with some, maybe a big name player showing up.
They had a big one last night. Shaq getting his jersey raised into the rafters. Yeah, talk about a guy who broke a backboard. You know how many times Shaq broke a backboard?
Didn't you just say 2?
In the NBA.
Oh, okay, total 9.
Total, unofficially 12. And so a couple of those at LSU. And, interesting. 12 is the number. Daryl Dawkins also brought him down as well. Mike actually broke a backboard as well. So interesting stuff. 850-215-6290. We talked a little bit about it yesterday. The ESPN and the College Football Playoff Committee have agreed to a 6-year, $7.8 billion deal. They're currently paying $608 million per year. The agreement not ratified yet. Commissioners and presidents have to vote, and it looks like it is going to be the 5+7 model, which means your 5 conference champions, not including the Pac-12. The other one would be your best group of 5, so Big 12 champion, Big 10 champion, ACC champion, SEC champion, and then your top G5 ranked team at that point, and then your 7 best at-large teams. But the block in the middle of all of that will be Washington State and Oregon State, because them being members of the Pac-12, the Pac-12 is still considered a conference, and that they could get in the way. But I think as long as they get their money stuff straightened out and they get what they're looking at out of that, then everything should be fine. And it works out better for them in all reality to have 7 chances, 7 opportunities at a large spot, at large bid, than it would for 6 and 6. As we move over to Jeff. Jeff, you're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. Who was the first player to break a backboard in the NBA?
Chuck Connors, the rifleman.
Absolutely, man. Do you know how it was that he did that?
He's 6'5", and he's pretty strong. I mean, the guy was a pure athlete. I mean, the guy was strong, especially for back then, because I mean, I might have been a big guy back then, but that guy was monstrous for back then.
So actually, it was during warm-ups. It was before the game started, and he shot a shot at the front of the rim, and the backboard had been installed improperly, and that is actually how the backboard shattered there. So it had nothing to do with him dunking, even though I do appreciate the 6'5", reference and the strength that he brought to the table. But yes, sir, you absolutely just won yourself $25 to Not The But That Boot Store and a 12-pack of Buffalo Rock. Thanks so much for calling in, and stay on the line so Caveman Rick can grab some info from you, all right?
Sure.
All right. I have a sneaking suspicion that might be a coach on the line there with you. So if it is, congratulations to all things that Bozeman is doing right now. It's really impressive just overall for their athletic programs. Obviously, we're ready for baseball in all facets, college baseball, MLB, high school baseball especially. I'm going to try to do my best to get to some more games around the area this year. Just and softball as well. Been going to a few of the Gulf Coast games. I'm falling in love with the sport of softball. Not like I ever haven't really been, but the more that I watch it and the fast pace that it plays at is a lot of fun. But yeah, Bozeman 23-2, I believe, going into their game tomorrow evening. That is going to definitely be a big one for Bozeman, hosting their first playoff game. They'll be hosting Cottondale tomorrow night. So big ups to the Bozeman Bucks. The 49ers, Kyle Shanahan has came out and fired defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. I know a lot of the 49er fans were very happy with how the defense played. It's extremely tough to stop a guy like Patrick Mahomes, but Steve Wilks is out. Are you surprised at all by that, Caveman Rick?
Oh, first, Jeff, we need you to call back. I lost you here on the phone, so give us a call back so we can set you up with our product.
Yeah, we'll definitely figure it out. Steve Wilks, are you surprised that the 49ers let go of their defensive coordinator today, just 2 days after the Super Bowl?
Do you really call it letting go? I mean, like, these guys, I mean, they're under contract and stuff, but I mean, in this day and age, you don't like usually hold, people back if they're looking for another job or looking to move on. So if they were to do something like that, I don't know, that'd be kind of like, I don't say selfish or whatever. I mean, it's a smart thing to do. I mean, I kind of wish the Eagles didn't have our 2 coordinators leave this past year. Imagine what season we might have had if we would have kept the same staff,
That's my biggest question is,
and why not make a trade? You can trade head coaches, right? Why can't you trade
There we go.
I'm just serious. I mean, like if he's got value, I mean that's a move that you can make and you can get something out of it.
Are you excited about Kellen Moore being the offensive coordinator for the Eagles?
I'm cautiously optimistic, and the reason why I say that is I think he's talented. I think he can run a good offense, right? I think he's going to help too with say Dallas. I mean, he knows them inside and out. He's been there for a long time, and how Mike McCarthy likes to do stuff. So I think because of that, it could be an asset. He can run a good offense. I think we got the talent. I just think I'm hoping we keep the right people around and we can have a little patience.
See, my thing with Kyle Shanahan getting rid of, and I'm absolutely intrigued first and foremost about Kellen Moore with the time that he had over there with the Cowboys. I think that just adds another storyline to a game that really doesn't need storylines in the Cowboys versus the Eagles. My thing with getting rid of a coordinator, first off, Kyle Shanahan, this isn't your first rodeo. All right, you had a great run with DeMeco Ryans. You didn't get it done with DeMeco Ryans. Look at the success that he's had as the head coach. Now we're talking about 1 year, but from where he started with the Houston Texans or where the Texans were last year and what he was able to do has been absolutely. I don't even know if there's another synonym to go along with not to go along with, but to take place of impressive is just absolutely amazing. I just don't understand to me it was more on your play calling and you're not and not just playing to win the game, that's one thing, but to just remove yourself from the run when the run was kind of working. Here's the other thing. The Chiefs were much better, statistically speaking, at stopping the pass than they were stopping the run. You've got one of the best running backs in the game. You've got one of the best running wide receivers in the game, and I get it. You're here for years. Like, oh, you need to play to win the game, play to win the game. That doesn't mean being so aggressive that you cost your team the game. And I'm not saying that he necessarily cost his team the game, because you can't plan for a blocked extra point. You can't plan for a muffed punt. But for me, when you've got these type of leads in the game, it's not just about just running the ball. It's about running the ball in the right way and trying to take every single second off that clock. When there's 15 minutes left on the fourth quarter, treat it like there's 2 minutes left. Treat it like there's 2 minutes left. And I'm not saying just to run the ball, but mix up your play calling enough to where you have the defense on their toes. And when you're passing the ball and the clock is stopping because of that, it's not beneficial for you to come away with a win. So for me, look at the Eagles here. Look at the Eagles. They lost both of their coordinators. Now, the 49ers aren't going to lose both of their coordinators, but and they've got a good one in Kyle Shanahan. 1 year with Steve Wilks as the defensive coordinator. You get to this spot. You had a great defense throughout the season. All that screams to me is either you didn't like the fact that he wasn't able to corral Patrick Mahomes in the second half the way that you would like it to, but it's almost scapegoatish. Like, look, here's our reason for I got to get rid of someone to keep the people happy. And it's like, no, keep this group together and see what you can get out of it next year.
Well, same way like what the Eagles did with Nick Sirianni getting rid of Brian Johnson. It's he didn't do so great. The defense let us down. So, you have the sacrificial lamb, like you said, so that you can, save your rear and keep your job and at least give yourself another year to see, what happens. A little grace period. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. But, we've heard, Coach Hale in the mornings even talk about stuff like this, man. Like, when you're a coach, it's not if, it's when you're going to get fired.
Yeah, that's so true.
Coach Andy Siegel will tell us the same thing, if you're a coach anywhere, you have to just understand you're going to get let go sooner or later.
Absolutely. And then on the flip side of that, for the Chiefs defensive coordinator, Steve Spags, he's getting the extension there, only coordinator to win 4 Super Bowls.
Good for him, too, because I think he's a better coordinator than a coach. Because when he coached for the Giants, they didn't do so hot, if you remember. I think a lot of people forget about that, because I heard, right after the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and leading up to that, a lot of people talking about, well, why isn't Spagnuolo getting, a lot of, looks, being a head coach? Well, duh, he didn't do so great the first time going around. So maybe people learned, hey, take care of one side of the ball, and that's your thing.
Yeah, and I think that there's a lot of coaches out there like that. There's a lot of coaches who are better at coordinating things, and then there's other coaches who are better at controlling things. In all reality, I feel like I'm a much better board op producer and, adding in stuff than I am someone who hosts the show. So that's, one of those issues. And I see that too with Spags and with guys who have had trouble as they're in their head coaching seasons, if you will, and then when they go back to being a coordinator. That's why I think Ohio State could be absolutely dangerous. Me and you agree on that. Chip Kelly being the offensive coordinator over there at Ohio State, he's going to have some of the most talent that he's had since he's been with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Oh yeah, he's going to have weapons.
He's got one of the best running backs. We'll see about how Howard works out, but if not, and they want to throw him to the fire, Julian Sands over there too.
And that's arguably wide receiver right up there with LSU.
You can't really boldly disagree with that. Absolutely not. You guys are riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. It's going to be a fun segment up next. If you got any baseball questions, we're going to have Sam the Man Peebles on the line.
Suffer from political talk radio fatigue?
We know that under the 49% rate, he has the
Tune into the most fun and exciting new radio show on the Gulf Coast. It's The Inside Drive with Brian Mulvey. From the Bill Kramer Chevrolet Buick GMC and Kramer Marine Outdoor Studios. Middays 11 to 1 on ESPN Northwest Florida.
This is Joanna with ESPN Northwest Florida with your Wednesday's weather. The rest of the day, there will be a light breeze out of the northeast, sunshine, and 65. Clear skies tonight, colder at 47. Tomorrow, partly sunny and a very light wind with a high of 64. The same at 64 Friday, and we'll have mostly clouds most of the day aside from a very slight chance of rain showers in the evening. This forecast is sponsored by Mid-South Lumber, the best little lumber yard in Panama City. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Hey there, folks. Looking for a place that feels like home right in the heart of Panama City? Well, look no further than Charlie Corm's Place at their new location on 15th Street. Charlie Corm's is not just a place, it's an experience. Imagine cozy corners, friendly faces, and the aroma of delicious dishes that'll make your taste buds dance. From sunrise breakfast to late night bites, Charlie Corm's on 15th Street has it all. Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street is now offering exclusive weekday lunch specials. Visit Charlie Corm's Place on 15th Street. Look for the giant mural.
College basketball lives here. WGSX Lynn Haven, WPLQ Port St. Joe, ESPN Northwest Florida.
Nothing more satisfying than helping you find the perfect vehicle. And this month, find something you love at just 2.99% APR on our most popular models. Plus 90 days until you make your first payment. Like the 2024 Camry with stylish good looks and impressive performance. Or the 2024 Corolla, built for comfort and style with top-notch tech. Panama City Toyota, for over 30 years, where relationships are born.
Offer expires March 4th. For details, visit PanamaCityToyota.com.
The next evolution in sports talk radio. It's the Afternoon Underdogs.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Weekdays from 4 till 6. 104.3 ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into hour number 2. We're going to have a lot of fun with this segment. But I wanted to read a couple of comments off real quick. 3 of them from Brandon, who's a 49ers fan. He says, Steve Wilkes is not why they lost the game. It was not a good decision to let him go. They had a top 10 defense. Special teams lost the 49ers that game. Blocked PAT, which would have put them up 4 instead of 3. And the punt, KC recovered and scored the next play. So, yeah. I'm right there with you, Brandon. I just don't think. Oh, he's not a 49ers fan. He's not a 49ers fan, but I thought he was by the way that he was texting in. I'm right there with you, though, man. I don't think that it was a great decision to let him go after the year that they had defensively speaking, and really kind of helped them down the stretch too to come back from that 3-game losing streak that they had. Before we dive in with Sam, I have to make sure that we get this headline in because it's something that we talked about a couple of weeks. I believe it was on a Thursday because we had James in, which James is, I believe, out of the country. So we're going to have Caveman Rick back in the building with us tomorrow. The Wichita Police Department Tuesday said that an arrest has been made nearly 3 weeks after a Jackie Robinson statue was stolen from a park and subsequently found dismantled days later. It was Ricky Alderetti, who's 45, looks like he's 80, is charged with the felony theft, value over $25,000, aggravated criminal damage to property, identity theft, and making false information. The statue, which police say was valued at $75,000, was stolen from McAdams Park, the home of League 42, which is a youth baseball league for about 600 children that commissioned and directed that statue in 2021. They raised $300,000. The guy who made this statue is no longer with us, but they do have the cast to remake this. The best part, I think that $300,000 is going to go straight to the League 42 because MLB teams have banded together to recreate that statue for him. So I love that, and I love Major League Baseball, and I love Sam Peebles. Sam, the man, what's going on, my friend?
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing wonderful, man, and I always try to learn one thing a day, and today, by way of batterypower.com, I learned about the Greenland shark, and they're possibly one of the only beings that saw the Boston Bean Eaters score the amount of runs that they did, which tops the Atlanta Braves. So y'all make sure you check out Sam's latest article on batterypower.com. It's always great stuff. Thanks for the information there, Sam.
Absolutely. It's fun to write.
Oh, man, you do a great job at it. That is for sure. Pitchers and catchers report today. Well, actually, let's talk about that article real quick. I don't want to just skim over the article and to say that was the only thing I learned because I was there at the beginning. But you took it. Now, I should have Googled what's it, XOWOBA, and that's the only thing is the acronyms start getting me, and I'm like, man, I don't necessarily know what it is that I'm looking at, but I once I see the numbers, it makes sense. Or it makes a little bit more sense for me. So tell me why you think the Atlanta Braves, as big of a challenge as it is, could live up to the same statistical numbers as they did last year.
All right, so what you're probably talking about is the weighted on-base average.
Yes.
Just to put that in a little bit more perspective, if anyone wants to read the article, I linked the definition of WOBA in there. But it's more, WOBA is really a more specific version of on-base plus slugging percentage. OPS, on-base, obviously how often you get on base, and then your slugging percentage. When you add those two together, it's a good metric. But the thing is that it's not perfectly weighted. For example, the way that it looks at it, it gives a little bit too much weight towards on-base percentage and not enough towards slugging. Actually, I said that backwards. It gives too much weight towards slugging and not enough towards getting on base. And then there's also little things like, walks are not exactly equal to singles as far as run creation. So on base average is is really the most accurate way to measure your run production. And so basically what you can look at is you can look at a player's weighted on base average, and then you can look at what their expected weighted on-base average is. Mm-hmm. And if you subtract the weighted on-base average away from the expected on-base average, if it's a positive number, you know that they actually were unlucky. And if it's a negative number, you know that they're actually lucky. For example, Ozzy Albies, even though he had an excellent season, showed he had a weighted on-base average of 340, but his expected he had a expected on-base average of 340, but his actual on-base average was 358, which means over time his 358 would have probably regressed down to a 340. So over time, he was getting actually a little bit lucky. Whereas Ronald Acuna, his expected weighted on-base average was a 460, but his weighted on-base average was a 428, which means over time, he actually would have been more productive with the bat over a longer sample size of just one season. So when you look at that, people say, well, the Braves, they led the league in runs scored. The odds of that happening again, a bunch of people overperformed. That won't happen again. But really, you can look at the numbers and see that in actuality, about 60 to 70% of the starting lineup underperformed. So not only did 60 to 70% of the starting lineup underperform, you took out one of the weakest links in Eddie Rosario, who had the lowest expected weighted on-base average, the one that, if over a long period of time, that's what you should get in a larger sample size. He had the lowest outside of Orlando Arcia, which, he's there because of his glove, but Eddie Rosario had the second lowest expected weighted on-base average on the entire of all the starters, and they replaced him with Jared Kelenic, who has a much higher expected weighted on-base average. So not only is the offense largely the same, where most of them underperformed, but then you took the second weakest link and replaced him with someone much better. So on paper, the Braves led the Dodgers by 41 total runs last year, second place. And in fact, the Dodgers scored more runs this past season than they did in 2022, in a year that they led in the most runs scored that year. So not only did the Dodgers score more runs this year than they did last year, but then the Braves scored 41 more runs than the Dodgers did this year. So they have a 41-run buffer to still be the number one offense in the league, and that's not even considering that most of their starters underperformed. So on paper, if everyone stays relatively healthy, we could definitely see a repeat for the Atlanta Braves leading all of Major League Baseball in runs scored again.
So, Mac, great great segue with Kelenic. So the Braves now, with the addition of him, do they got the best outfield in baseball, or at least maybe in the National League?
Sam, he was asking, with the addition of Kelenic, do the Braves have the best the best outfield in baseball?
Best outfield? it'd be hard to argue against it. Someone might be able to make an argument here and there, but when you got Ronald Acuna, who is obviously, he's, now that Ohtani this year is not going to be pitching, Acuna is the best player in the league as of right now. And then you got Michael Harris, who is arguably a top 50 player. And then Kelenic, he has not reached his full potential, I don't believe. I would put them up there for sure. I can't think off the top of my head any other outfield that comes close.
Yeah, because Juan Soto's got the noodle arm over there. We expect him to be playing left field for the Yankees. Aaron Judge out there. Maybe you can make that argument. I like what the Braves are doing right now, and I'm really excited to see how Kelenic can do with the Braves. When you take someone who may not have been having the best start to their career, but then you put them around a bunch of winners, and you put them, in that offense, like we've always said, hitting is contagious. Pitchers and catchers report today. Give me a prospect that you're watching for the Atlanta Braves.
For the Braves?
Yeah.
Nacho, the shortstop.
Oh, okay.
His nickname is Nacho. Watch out for him. He should be good. I would love to see, he got an invite to spring training. And Arcia is obviously a stopgap shortstop. I'm not saying that he'll be up in the league this year, but if you're playing a dynasty type fantasy baseball league, you might want to stash him away because he looks to be the heir apparent at shortstop. And if I had to pick a pitcher, Waldrop for sure. Pitcher coming out of University of Florida. He's already in the top 100 prospects as of right now. He's a large reason why the Braves are no longer the worst farm system in Major League Baseball, and he got an invite to spring training too. So I don't think that he'll really have a shot of breaking the season as in the rotation. The Braves already have a solid rotation. There's no reason to rush him, but he's definitely a guy to keep an eye on too.
Yeah, and then Max Fried, Charlie Morton kind of winding down. Is the window's not closing at all offensively speaking, but what about on the rotational side of things, on the pitching staff side of things? Is the window closing in any manner there?
Yeah, I think that's one of the large reasons why they went ahead and offered that 2-year contract to Chris Sale, because you're right. As far as the rotation goes, there's no guarantee that Max Fried will come back after this year. There's some question marks on the back end. That's probably another reason why they signed Ronaldo Lopez. Mark Bowman thinks he's going to be the 5th starter this year. I'm not going to question Mark Bowman, but I don't foresee that happening. But I think that might be kind of a contingency plan as well, as they kind of figure out what's going to happen over the next few years. With Waldrop coming up and Smith-Shawver coming up, hopefully they pan out. If those two, come up and can be like mid-rotation starters, headlined by Spencer Strider. We got another year of Chris Sale. I think they'll still be good for, at least decent for the foreseeable future. The Braves already have, arguably a top 3 rotation in Major League Baseball. So, yeah, they're going to lose Max Fried. Charlie Morton will probably retire, but there's even losing those two, though. If they can get some stopgap rotation arms, they're still going to be, at least middle of the pack. And with the offense that they have, they're still going to be competitive.
Yeah, and we've talked about the offseason a little bit. Obviously, the Dodgers stole the show. What's a team that kind of went under the radar, and we can't use the Braves in this one, a team that might have went under the radar with any splash signings or anything, but you feel like they did what they needed to do to have a successful season here in 2024?
I'm going to say the Detroit Tigers. They didn't really make any splashy moves, but they continue to get better. They continue to develop players, and they play in an extremely weak division. So I don't think that they're going to be World Series contenders by any means, but I do think that they're a team to keep an eye out for. Everyone in their division pretty much got worse. The Twins didn't really get any better. The White Sox, they have gotten really bad really quickly, and the Guardians, they haven't really done anything. They got, a top 2 third baseman in Major League Baseball and Jose Ramirez, but outside of that, they don't really have a solid squad. So, but the Tigers are trying to do what the Braves are doing, get young players, sign them when you can to longer contracts, and I think the Tigers are setting the track in the right direction to be competitive for the next few years.
Could the attention end up derailing the Dodgers? I was reading, you've got paparazzis and whatnot, media members getting there as the sun rises to see if they can get a shot of Shohei Ohtani. And then Coach Robert said that, I believe he said something to the effect of Jason Hayward can be your source for Shohei Ohtani. And then he's having to deal with a lot of people asking him questions about Shohei, and he's saying, well, you're just going to have to ask Shohei. And this is just starting. Could that attention end up being problematic for those Dodgers who have been in the same position as the Braves the last 2 years with great regular seasons, but when it comes time to finding pay dirt, it's just a little bit too much?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
Okay, all right. Could the attention derail the Dodgers? Could the attention that they're getting from the media derail the Dodgers?
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers, I hate to be that guy that really calls someone overrated. That's not really the right term. But, the Dodgers got a lot of hype with the signings that they made this offseason. And they did, they got Ohtani, which, is a generational talent, good for baseball. Everyone knows, without a doubt, when he's pitching, he's the best player on the field. And, they got Tyler Glasnow and stuff, but they also, it's not like they still lost, their DH and J.D. Martinez. Clayton Kershaw, they re-signed him, but he's getting older. There's a reason they signed him for a cheap contract, They the Dodgers are still a very good baseball team, but I don't think that with all the hype that they got, I think some Dodgers fans are probably going to be a little disappointed this year.
Oh, that is exactly what I like to hear. What are who are some prospects that we should keep an eye on, especially for our guys out there, our fans out there who are sports cards collectors and kind of trying to get ahead of the curve?
That is difficult because, when it comes to a lot of the prospect stuff, they keep a lot of that under wraps because they want, if we're being honest, a lot of times prospects are trade chips, and so they want to keep it under wraps. And if you can find yourself someone that's like an expert in prospects, I always try to get them on my show as much as I can because those guys do a lot of research. So I don't want to pretend like I'm an expert on that kind of thing because I will probably tell you the wrong answer.
All right. Hey, I respect that. I respect that a ton, my friend. Yeah. By the way, you're listening to Sam Peebles on ESPN Northwest Florida. He's the host and creator of the Braves Dugout. You can also go check out his latest article on the Braves offense and will it repeat its success in 2024. Just go to batterypower.com. How about Acuna, man? Do you think he'll get to 40-70 again? I think I read somewhere that 19.2% of batted balls by Ronald Acuna Jr. were over 100 miles an hour last year.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you ever get into the whole StatCast and all that, which has been revolutionary for stat fans like me, but Ronald Acuna in every stat that matters, as far as like exit velocity, expected weighted on base average, like we were talking about, launch angle, all that stuff that has been over the past few years have proven to result in run production. He is in the top, if not the top player in every single category. So can he get to 40-70 again? Absolutely. He most certainly can. I don't know if he's going to try to get that many stolen bases again this year because even though he had 70 stolen bases, he still led the league in caught stealing. So I don't know if they're going to, since he got to that milestone, if they're going to next year kind of pull back on his stolen base attempts a little bit as far as that goes. But he should have no issues with his bat doing what he did this past year. In fact, like I said earlier with the weighted on-base average versus his expected weighted on-base average, he was one of the most, believe it or not, was one of the unluckiest players in Major League Baseball last year. So there's no doubt in my mind that if he stays healthy, he can absolutely have the type of year he did with the bat again.
The National League MVP, and this is by the numbers, ladies and gentlemen. He's not just telling you these things. The National League MVP was unlucky last year. How impressive is that? Now, I know that the rule changes help with the stolen bases and all of that good stuff, but it's not like it was 40 home runs and 45 stolen bases or anything. He almost doubled the number of 40, so I think you got to give him a lot of credit there. All right, so I asked you the question about the prospects we should keep an eye on, specifically for our sports card collectors. Do you have a card out there right now, a baseball card out there that you're chasing?
Well, I'll give a little piece of advice. So the market for brand new cards is very volatile.
Mm-hmm.
So literally the card that's hot could change daily.
Mm-hmm.
So new cards are fun to rip. They're fun to look at. In fact, I bought into a break recently because it's so much fun, but they're very volatile. So you could buy a card that's worth $10,000 today, and it could be worth $200 in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, if you're looking for cards to go for, my suggestion is go for the vintage stuff because you know who can't get injured and not have a career? Babe Ruth.
There you go.
You can't get injured in Hank Aaron. So the vintage stuff, I always like to, if you're new into like really getting into the collecting, I would suggest getting some vintage cards. But as of right now, I would say the top guy you want to go for right now as far as prospects, because he looks like he's going to break out this year, is none other than Matt Holliday's son, playing shortstop for the Orioles, Jackson Holliday. That's the guy you want. So look for Jackson Holliday cards if you can get some good ones of him that are affordable. I foresee that his value will probably go up a little bit this year since he's going to be making his rookie debut. I think a lot of hype is going to be behind him now that the Orioles are really good. He's got a legendary dad, and he's the number one prospect in baseball.
Oh, I love all of that, and that's a great answer. I was not ready for Jackson Holliday, but you make a lot of great points there. But there's nothing vintage or anything like that. That's what I'm saying. Is there something that you're like, man, I am chasing this card? It doesn't have to be prospect, current, like anything out there that Sam Peebles is like, I've got to add this to my personal collection.
The next card I want is Eddie Matthews rookie card. I don't have that. That would kind of complete my Holy Grail or Mount Rushmore, whatever you want to call it. You know, I have Chipper Jones cards, Hank Aaron, Babe Ruth, all that kind of stuff. But I don't have that Eddie Matthews rookie card, and that's the next one I want.
All right, my friend. Well, we'll see what we can do. If anyone out there's got an Eddie Matthews rookie card, let's hook Sam up for all the hard work he does here for Lynn Haven, for us as sports fans, and for us here on ESPN Northwest Florida. Hey, Sam, thanks so much for giving us some of your time, and you enjoy the rest of your evening, my friend.
Absolutely. Go Braves.
Go Braves. Hey, seriously, guys, if you're not checking out, first go follow Sam over there on Twitter at S.Peebles Sports. And then just read his articles, man. They are really good stuff. He's a really good writer, and you can hear it here. I mean, he explains the things that he's talking about, and he explains it in his articles very well as well. You're riding with the Afternoon Underdogs. One more segment left to go on the afternoon that will be live, and then we will play you the local segment from yesterday, or the final segment from yesterday afternoon. We'll be right back. Keep it locked in to ESPN Northwest Florida.
Start your morning with sports updates, interviews, reactions, lively discussions, insights, and expert analysis.
I think in our lifetime, we will never see another undefeated team.
Join Evan, Canty, and Michelle weekday mornings from 5 to 7.
It will never happen again.
On the Sports Talk Monster.
If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt for one last chance, it's Bill Belichick.
ESPN Northwest Florida.
Good evening. This is Joanna on ESPN Northwest Florida with Wednesday's weather forecast. Clear tonight with a low near 47 and a wind 2 to 5 miles per hour. Mostly sunshine tomorrow morning, a light breeze, and a temperature of 62. A bit warmer in the afternoon and evening around 64 with some sun. Quite warm with a high around 64 and mostly cloudy most of the day aside from a small chance of showers in the evening Friday. This forecast is brought to you by Earthworks of Northwest Florida. Thank you for tuning into ESPN Northwest Florida. Rely on it.
Are you tired of hearing 2 weeks when you call to get your boat worked on? Hey folks, it's Chris Kramer with Kramer Marine and Outdoor, and we'll get you in and back out on the water as quick as possible. We're a full-line Yamaha outboard dealer and Suzuki outboard dealer, and we have master-trained certified mechanics on site. So if it's just an annual service, electronics install, trolling motor install, or all the way up to a full repower, we can take care of you. So stop by and see us in the corner of Frankfurt and 23rd next to Bill Kramer GM, or call us at 850-851-0453.
PCB Hobby, the beach's premier hobby store for sports cards, comics, coins, and trading card games. PCB Hobby carries the largest selection of boxes and packs from the latest releases of brands like Topps, Panini, Leaf, and more. Looking for a specific player or team? PCB Hobby has a wide assortment of raw and graded cards. They carry parallel rookie, game used, and autographed cards in both modern and vintage. Have a collection you want to sell? We buy, sell, and trade. PCB Hobby on Back Beach Road, just east of Florida Linen. Call 850-320-8388.
He's so old, he buys his clothes at the same store he buys his groceries.
Are you wearing a grocery bag?
I talk sports in my underwear. I'm going to wear nothing but a thong and a top hat.
Caveman Rick is part of the Afternoon Underdogs on ESPN Northwest Florida.
Welcome back into the Doghouse, final live segment of the afternoon. Then we're going to be playing the final segment from the show yesterday afternoon with Tyler Bishop, myself, and Caveman Rick. I'm David Hayes along with Caveman Rick. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. The Coach James Hale Show is going to be live at 7 a.m. The Inside Drive with Ryan Mulvey and Jay Henley at 11 a.m. running until 1 p.m. And then again, we're back here tomorrow at 4. Tomorrow's going to be a fun show on the Inside Drive. Chris Fall will be in, and we'll be talking some middle school basketball. And and we're going to have RJ Starcevic on the Afternoon Underdogs tomorrow. Wow. He's going to be live there from Daytona. It is Daytona. And with that being said, I've got some on this day. On this day in 1960, the second Daytona 500, Junior Johnson survives a 37 car crash on turn 4 to win, driving a John Massani-owned Chevrolet. 1966, Wilt Chamberlain breaks the NBA scoring record at 20,884 points. I wonder when he broke that record, was he just the unequivocal, which they didn't use the term, or maybe they did, but was he the unequivocal GOAT at that time of basketball? Like, because I know for a long time, Kareem was the scoring leader, and for a lot of people, you could go into the top 5, and when I say a lot of people, I'm talking about the younger people, but before I was ever on, this show, who was I talking to? Younger people, you know what I mean? So, for me, Kareem, until I started learning about really how good he was at UCLA and then what he did in the league, that's where it's like, golly, he was a lot better than what he gets credit for, and that's just the recency bias and all of that stuff. But 20,884 points for Wilt.
Yeah, Wilt and Oscar Robertson, they're like the two big old names, that I have like in my head, unless you go back to like was it like Mikan, or you got like Pistol Pete Maravich and guys like that, way back in the day.
Or to our backboard breaker, Chuck Connor, 6'5", the rifleman. 1973, Muhammad Ali beats British heavyweight boxing champion Joe Bugner by unanimous points decision in 12 rounds at the Las Vegas Convention Center. In 1988, the 30th Daytona 500, Bobby Allison beats his son Davey to the finish line, and that race is remembered for Richard Petty's rollover crash in the Tri-Oval on lap 106, and he rolls over 8 times and then hit by Brett Bodine, walking away unhurt. And I believe last year when me and Kyle Wright were down there at the Daytona 500, they were last year was the 75th anniversary of NASCAR. And they were talking about I believe it was 75. We've got so many anniversaries going on right now throughout the leagues, but I believe it was 75. So they were talking about the top 75 drivers, and I believe they were showing some videos of that particular race. In 1995, Portland Trailblazers trade Clyde the Glide Drexler to the Houston Rockets. They end up winning the 1995 NBA championship. I've mentioned multiple times on the show how basically I share every favorite team with my dad outside of the NBA, where I'm a Pacers fan and he was a Houston Rockets / Lakers fan. Never really got a straight answer out of him on that. So Dad, if you're listening, go ahead and text me that, because I'm about to read off your other text if we find some time here in our final 8 minutes. 1999, the 41st Daytona 500. Jeff Gordon wins, and he is the first Daytona 500 pole sitter to win the race since Bill Elliott did it in 1987. So 12-year difference there. In 2010, back to the 500, 52nd Daytona 500, Jamie McMurray, driving for the Earnhardt Ganassi Racing, ends up winning. But the reason I put this in, because when I was growing up, that Valvoline 6 car of Mark Martin, he was the oldest pole sitter in Daytona 500 history at 51 years, 27 days. In 2010, though, he was probably driving the, oh my gosh, say it.
I was going to say, before Valvoline, I worked at a Winn-Dixie.
Okay.
He used to drive the Czech
yes, he
car,
did.
And that was the car before that. And I just remember that because of like stocking that up and always seeing his face on those damn boxes of cans.
Yeah.
And like, man, after 6 months, you're like, man, I'm sick of Mark Martin.
but now that I'm thinking about this, though, and I don't know if I'm right about this, so I'll have to Google this, but I think that he drove a Viagra car.
That might be right.
But for some reason, I want to say some words that are, that might not sit well with people, but they would sit very well with Travis Kelce. Pfizer.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was, man. It was some type of, like, it was a black and blue car. It was a really good paint scheme on the car too. But I'll have to go back and look it up, because I do believe that it had something to do with Viagra, but they didn't have Viagra on the car. So I don't know, man. Maybe they drove it too hard. Let's go to 2018. The American snowboarder Shaun White wins
Flying Tomato.
The Flying Tomato wins an unprecedented third Olympic halfpipe gold medal, previously in 2006 and 2010 at the Pyeongchang Winter Games.
It's like Carrot Top snowboarding, man.
Yeah, he does not. I heard on an interview one time, I think it was like one of those late night shows, the guy brought up a picture and said, "You look an awful lot like Carrot Top." He did not like that very much.
Then I would go like the Carrot Top. He used to joke around. It looks like the Wendy's girl from the Wendy's, ads.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, "You look like the Wendy's chick," just to be a little different. Maybe you wouldn't get so mad.
Yeah, there you go. 2019. Well, another thing with Shaun White here, it's kind of one of those things that
embrace it, dude.
Oh, I'm talking about his snowboarding, like adding in snowboarding into the Olympics was like, we knew an American was going to be winning that, right?
Though, too.
It
That's
is.
a big sport.
It is. So maybe I'm just being a little biased right there. 2019 Oklahoma City guard Russell Westbrook makes a triple-double. He had 44 points, 14 rebounds, and 11 assists in an NBA record 11th consecutive game as the Thunder go down 131 to 122 in New Orleans. Couple of NBA what-ifs real quick before I move off on this. What if Shaq stays in Orlando? What does Kobe's career look like at that
He
point?
probably leaves L.A.
Right. There's very, very real that could have happened. Could the Magic have ended up finding success over there after 1996?
Well, you had him and Penny Hardaway.
That's
over
what I'm
there.
saying.
Yeah.
And Penny was one of my favorites growing up. So what if Shaq doesn't go? And then the other one is, what if OKC stayed with Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden for a little while longer?
You would think that they would have won a championship. And who's the big guy that used to have?
Oh, Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins.
No, him, and then the Australian dude.
Scabrini?
No. God, man, he's not playing for him now. He got moved just recently, I think. Jeez, I wish I could remember his name. Anyways, tall Australian guy, played for him too. I want to say he might have been there too. If they would have kept them too, might have been a pretty formidable team.
Yeah, just the trio of those guys for sure would have been fun to watch them, because they were fun when they were young, a little bit more experience. And if KD doesn't, go ring chasing at that point, who knows what would have worked out. And in 2020, UEFA places a 2-year ban. This is for my friend Max Delyden, who's probably not listening, but a 2-year ban on Manchester City from European club competition for committing serious breaches of club licensing and financial fair play regulations. The EPL champions, English Premier League champions, also fined £30 million. Pounds, not dollars, but pounds there. And got a text from my dad earlier. We were talking about the coaches. My dad's texting in a lot on today's show. Some coaches are good at coaching players, but a head coach has to coach his coaches as well. And some guys just aren't cut out for that level. That is a good take there. That's true, though, because when you're the coach, when you're the head coach, everything is your responsibility. So if your coaches ain't doing their jobs with their players, then who has to coach them up at that point? And it is a tough thing to figure out, like Andy Reid, all right? Well, a lot of coaches might have even went to the extent of, and they would have been right in doing it, benching Travis Kelce. I don't know if you want to go in that direction in the Super Bowl, but a great leader isn't always about
Depends on the ego you got.
Right, but I'm saying, well, what I'm talking about is a great leader, though, right? Like a great leader, regardless of the ego or whatever, is going to it's not always just about him being right, but the team being right.
Yeah, well, I was saying, like, if Andy Reid doesn't have a huge ego, then it doesn't matter that he shows up over there. Travis Kelce doesn't, kind of embarrasses him, if you will, and knowing that he's got confidence and he's comfortable, like, in his own skin with Andy Reid, it's not a big deal, so... Good for him.
Ryan Warren texts in. He says, Mark Martin did drive the number 6 Viagra car for Jack Roush. You can Google a picture of it. See, Ryan, today I don't have my laptop, and if I'm on my phone and stuff, I end up getting a little bit too distracted with all of that. And we had another text in, and I just erased that from my notification, so I'll have to jump into our Message Pro office here on the... Or, Caveman, you got it up over there? You got the text up over there?
Yeah, I'm trying to pull up the picture.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, while you're doing that, I'll log in. And James Lawson says Adam. So, I think, is that Steven Adams?
Yeah,
is that
Steven
who you're...
Adams. That's who I was.
Was Steven Adams on that team then,
I don't know if
though?
he was. That's what I was asking. If he was like, just like there and we just kind of didn't know about him because he was kind of like, an unknown player back then.
Yeah.
A bench guy.
He might have been on that squad, but I want to say he was there he was at OKC during the like those Billy Donovan years.
Yeah, I think you're right about that too.
Yeah.
I'm just not sure. That's why I thought I'd throw it out.
Let's see what else we got here. NBC Sports California has announced that Jenny Cavnar is going to be the primary play-by-play announcer for its A's broadcast. She's going to be the first female primary play-by-play voice in MLB history. And this could be a good thing. I hope that she's good at it.
Yeah, no doubt.
You know what I mean? Because there's one thing in putting someone in a position just because of what it is that they are different in, and someone who's good at it.
Like the A's, like now, like I get like if they were actually going to Las Vegas and they had it all figured out, this might help kind of like, with the hype because of the first woman, doing this. But now they're in a precarious spot, like if she doesn't do well, then also kind of doesn't help the situation out where they're at right now too, not like really having a home. So it's a lot of question marks.
I just think that she's there's 30 broadcasters, 30 play-by-play broadcasters. I think that there's a good chance that she'll be in kind of like the top 10 of or let's say top half. Let's say top half, man. Because another thing is with broadcasting, not everybody likes, there's some people that I like in broadcasting that you don't like. And there's some people that you like in broadcasting that I don't necessarily like, So that's also one of those interesting things. You said we got about a minute left here. All right, then we'll go ahead and...
38 seconds.
Okay, with that being said, Coach James Hill Show is going to be live at 7 a.m. The Inside Drive back with you tomorrow at 11 a.m. And the Afternoon Underdogs will wrap up the afternoon tomorrow at 4 p.m. We've got some Auburn basketball headed your way. This is the Afternoon Underdogs. We've got one more segment. It's a recorded segment. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow. Just remember, Jesus loves you, so do I.
She's all you ever think about. So this Valentine's, ESPN Northwest Florida is giving you more of what your heart desires. College basketball.